Y'all forgive me, it's a little dark in here, but I was just chilling, you know. I was just chilling. And this is what it looked like when I'm just chilling. So we're gonna I'm gonna try to sit up in this chair and get all comfortable like I was. And I titled this video When Someone Lets You Down. I almost forgot what I titled the video. And y'all forgive me because the TV is on and it's giving me light, but it's it's on like the screensaver mode, so it's gonna keep flashing. It's gonna keep flashing, you guys. Y'all just deal with it. I mean, for the most part, when I shoot videos, they're more for you to listen to than to watch. Cause I'm not I'm not that person. I wish I was. Oh, before I like get into it, welcome to 50 Essentials. Hi, my name is Josie. If you're new to my channel, you are very welcome here. Um, yeah, like I don't know. Maybe one day it'll change and I will show up consistently looking like I was ready, you know? But I just look, y'all get what y'all get because I'm having to deal with what I get. You see what I mean? We here together. We are on this journey together, and you know, I'm as relatable as they come. Okay. So, now that we got all of that out of the way and y'all can see that I am doing better. I'm no longer struggling. Lord, I was struggling. Um, Here's the deal. Let me try to. I'm gonna try to help y'all with this whole light thing. Maybe if I do that like that, it won't move. So, when someone lets you down, when I'm able to spend time alone, I'm able to have a lot of inspirational insights and things come to me. I'm just more in touch with myself and the collective when I have extended periods of time alone. So if you're wondering where all of these videos are coming from, they're coming from the fact that the only person that I have been around is myself. That's why. It's not easy being this version of me and mom. So y'all don't get a lot of this when the kids are here. Um, when someone lets you down, I want to give y'all my perspective on some things, some tools, um, or ways of thinking when someone lets you down to assist you in still being able to move forward, you know, because there are multiple people on the planet. Like, nobody ever really does anything alone, like completely by themselves. There's always someone else that's part of whatever process, right? And I would like to say that we live in a world where you're never going to experience anyone who lets you down, or that your intuition or your discernment is so on point that you're going to avoid that situation altogether. Sometimes, again, the universe will do something. Even though you've got great intuition, even though you're very discerning, some situation will come into your life to teach you a lesson that has nothing to do with the particular situation that's happening in your life. Okay? It's for something totally different. So, no matter which way you want to chop it, life experiences are going to be had no matter how prepared you feel like you are, or no matter how much mastery you feel like you have. And the whole point is, change is the only constant. Yes, you will experience things over and over again, but your reaction to them is what evolves and transforms. The effect that it has on you is what evolve and transforms. You see what I mean? So when someone lets you down, the first thing that I would suggest that you do is to feel your feelings, feel the disappointment, feel however you want to feel about yourself too, okay? Because you can't forgive yourself or the other person or have grace or compassion until you feel your feelings, okay? It's kind of hard to be mad, upset, disappointed when you don't even know why, right? So, in a situation where someone let you down, face it. This person let me down, and this is how they let me down, and this is how I feel about it, right? I depended on this person. This person reassured me, and now this has happened, and this is how I feel about it. You've got to feel that, and you've got to be honest in that situation, and you actually need to identify exactly what it is that you're upset about, because someone can let you down in a simple way, like they said that they were going to pick something up and then they forgot. That's like a little isolated situation. Okay, they said they were going to pick this up and they forgot, so now I have to go and pick it up myself, right? Easy fix, right? That's a small disappointment. But if it keeps happening and you keep giving chances, all of those tiny disappointments build up, and then you just build up this belief that you cannot rely on this person. Period. So even the tiny ones get big, right? But when a big disappointment happens, it's usually not a series of small things that didn't happen. It's usually not isolated. It's different when big things happen. So someone forgetting to pick that item up for you, causing you a inconvenience, is one thing. But when someone promises to take on a whole role in your life and be there and tell you that you can rely on them in situations that you don't even know are going to happen yet, because that hasn't been lived, right? So we're talking about situations with committed relationships. We're talking about committed positions, like in jobs and contracts that you sign and things like that. Long-term positions, right? Where someone's telling you, put me in, coach, you can count on me. And then when they get in, they don't actually show up the way that they need to. That can be disappointing because it was an investment. You see, I have to fix something real quick, you guys, so that that doesn't happen again. There we go. Yeah, it can be tough when someone lets you down when they have taken over a whole department in your life, or a whole department at your job or in your business, and you've trusted them with this and they let you down, right? You'll go through the stage where you blame yourself for making the decision to trust that person. You'll go through the stage where you're angry with that person and you want to put everything on them. Um, and a lot of times we will lose sight of exactly what it was that the problem was in the first place. So if I hire someone to manage a whole section of my business, let's say I hire someone to manage my social media. I saw their resume. It told me that they could handle what I was asking them to handle. I interviewed them. They seemed to match the resume. But when it came down to it, they botched my social media. Okay? I'm pissed. This person had been dishonest at some point, right? Same thing with boyfriends, girlfriends, marriages, long-term relationships, things like that. I really want to focus on the big disappointments, not the small inconveniences that could turn into a series of disappointments, right? I'm talking about the big ones that come with a lot of unknowns. When you experience those big disappointments and you're blaming yourself and you're blaming the other person and you're feeling at a loss and you're feeling all of this lack and you're just staring down into the hole, right? When you're staring down into it, you've got to go through all of that. But when you're going through all of that, when you're feeling your feelings, when you're angry, when you're disappointed in yourself, when you're disappointed in that other person, somewhere in that process, you need to ask yourself the hard questions and you need to be honest with yourself. When you allowed this person to have that kind of authority in your life, were you coming from a place of lack? Were you desperate? Were you in need? And did you just take anything that was available? Okay? And if that answer is no, you still want to examine what was the reason that you initially trusted that this person could handle what you needed them to handle. Because again, everything's on an axis. You know, you've got the negative side, you got the boogeyman you got to find, and then you've got the compassion that you need to find. Because in some situations, when you ask yourself, why did I trust this person to do this thing that was so important in my life? And when you hear the answer, when you get the answer, you're either going to feel, you're either going to be brought back to that foundational reason that allows you to have compassion and be understanding in the situation, even though you're having to do damage control and reinforcement and things like that. Or you're going to just get more pissed off because you realize that you were probably desperate. You did not really discern properly. You may have went against your energy. And you have to have that self-honesty. Do you see what I mean? So, when, and it's always funny to me because the observation is like watching a TV show. So I let this person in my life because they seemed to have checked all the boxes, right? And then when life actually started happening, I realized that the boxes were not being checked, and I had to make a command decision to say, stop, pause, no. We need to reevaluate some things. I may need to get someone else to do this. I may need to do this myself. And in the middle of all that, you have all of your feelings. That person has their feelings because they're being fired. And let me tell you, this is the hardest part of the whole situation when someone lets you down, is that you're not going to want to see that they did not realize that that thing that made you put everything to a halt, they don't know. They're not even aware of that whole reality. They think that they are doing exactly what you need them to do. And you're going to have to acknowledge that, okay? A lot of times, they're not consciously playing with you, okay? Um, People have their own realities in the way that they see things out of their own eyes. So when you experience a disappointment and you need to remove somebody from the position in your life or in your job or your business, when you need to remove someone, it's very important that you first remember why you put them there and acknowledge the motivation behind it so that you can figure out whether you so you can move forward with either compassion or have someone else deal with the process of severing that connection. Because if you cannot find compassion, if you cannot find that foundational reason and it feels good enough to at least talk to that person and have a mutual understanding during the severance process, you're going to need somebody else to handle that. You're going to need to outsource the firing, okay? If you found that maybe you were desperate, you needed help, that person seemed to fit, and then you find out that that wasn't a good idea, you're probably not going to be able to come to that person and say, hey, I'm going to need to let you go. This is not working out, blah, 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 because you're at a deficit. That's where you started. And now you're even more at a deficit. And the only person that you can really blame is you. But in those situations, we're two in our feelings and we want to put everything on the other person. Okay? So if you cannot find the foundational reason and it actually feels good and the foundational reason is still there, then don't even bother. You need to find somebody else to handle the severance process, because you're going to be too busy trying to fix your feelings and forgive yourself for making the decision in the first place. Okay? And when I say find somebody else to handle the severance process, that's mostly in business and work. When it comes to like personal relationships, hey, this is not working out. Don't really get too much into an explanation. I don't need you to do this anymore. Click, radio silence. Don't get into it. Okay? But if you find that you do still see the reason, even though the thing that you needed to happen is not happening, you can see that the person has those foundational building blocks. It is there, it's just not popping like it needs to for the situation. Then you can talk to the person and y'all can actually have a conversation. Hey, I hired you to handle the art department. You got all your degrees. I love how you educate the students, blah, blah, blah. I can see that. However, what I needed you to do was more so on the lines of getting more, new people in the door. And I don't see that happening, That way you can give them credit for being correct, because, they were correct. The thing is, you were not necessarily clear on exactly what you needed to happen, because you probably did not know either what you needed to happen. Okay? Understand that When you're dealing with big disappointments, a lot of the reason why is because of all of those scenarios that are unknown in the process that you have to wait and see how it plays out, how that person's going to show up. And then if your situation has time constraints, like deadlines, like quotas, like your patience, you're going to need to see certain things happen in a certain amount of time. And when you notice that that time is running out and nothing's happening, you're already knowing that you're going to need to make a change. Period. So with all of that being said, when you first realize that you have been disappointed by someone, it's very important to ask yourself what you needed them to do. Get back to what you needed them to do in your life, in your job, in your work, whatever, your business. And then ask why you needed them to do it. See if you were coming from a place of lack when you hired them or onboarded them. And if you weren't coming from a place of lack, you should have the compassion to handle the severance process. Because when you're handling that severance process, you'll be able to tell that person, this is what I wanted, this is why I wanted it, this is what you brought to the table, and this is what I didn't get. And y'all will be straight moving forward with the severance. And they'll understand, and you'll understand, and you'll be able to be more clear with the next person. But if you find that you did bring that person in from a place of lack, then you are going to be short with the severance. Hey, this is not working. Because you still don't even really know why it's not working, because you came from a place of confusion when you came from that place of lack, bringing that person in. All I know is this is not working. Thank you for whatever you did do, but you gotta go. Cut it off, radio silence, no more words. Okay, make it short, and then go handle yourself. Why did you bring someone in from a place of lack? What is it that you truly need? Why is it that you felt desperate in the first place? You're going to have to dig into yourself before you can even think about replacing that person. And then what are you going to do temporarily? Do you need to shut something down? Do you need to stop doing something? Does something need to be paused? Because you got to get your stuff together before you can go on and try this again. And after questioning yourself and getting to the bottom of these situations, there's the acceptance of the answers. Well, you came from a place of lack because of this. Because you're going to want to deny the reason why you came from a place of lack. So you're going to have the back and forth with yourself. But eventually you're going to accept the reason why you came from a place of lack in the first place. And you're going to forgive yourself from taking the action that you took that was counterproductive to your energy. I needed this, so I did that. But that was not the correct action to take. What I should have done was this instead. That way, when I did that thing, it would have been more on a positive note, and there would have been more clarity, and it may have gone even further, because you always got to leave room for error when you're dealing with human interaction, period. Just because you may not have initiated something in a place of lack doesn't mean that nothing can go wrong. right? So I'm thinking that you mostly want to try to find either compassion for the other person or compassion for yourself when you know that you just were not right when you did this. You can't find compassion for the other person if you find that you were not coming from the right motives when you initiated it, because you're gonna be too in your feelings, and then you got to go through the denial process, and then you got to accept, and then you got to forgive yourself. That's too much work that needs to be done for someone who's waiting to be severed from the whole situation. Okay. So that is the best way that I can tell you on how to deal with disappointments that are big, to where you've got to literally shut things down, rearrange things, and it takes a while. But the whole point is to do it better. We're not going to try to prevent this from ever happening again. That's just, we're not going to do that, because it's too concrete. And sometimes you need the same lesson to show up in different ways so that you can learn other lessons in life. Okay? It's never going to hurt or be as tough as the very first time. Okay? That's that Ten of Swords energy. So yeah, I hope that I explained that in a way that was tolerable to follow. Okay? Short severances for when you find that you were discerning from a place of lack. Okay? If you were discerning from a place of expansion and security, then you should be able to handle the severance yourself with mutual understanding and be able to move forward correctly for whatever the situation is. Okay? So yeah, being let down by someone else doesn't have to be like a funeral. It doesn't have to be like a funeral every single time it happens. And just be grateful that whatever it was did not decline even further before you caught on and made adjustments. You see? You've got to find the gratitude, the compassion, the forgiveness, the motives, the reasons, you know, and really examine all of that in order to make the adjustment and move forward. But when we're in our feelings, we like to forget about it all. We want to blame either ourselves or the other person, period. We don't want to think about, well, shoot, what did I need in the first place? Or why did I need it? What was the outcome I expected? You know, we ain't thinking about none of that. I needed you and you weren't there. That's it. That's all that matters. You didn't. And then we want to yell false advertising. A lot of times, it's not false advertising. That person showed you who they were. They showed you their capabilities. Okay? The thing is, when you're coming from a place of lack, you will take anything. Okay? And you will only focus on the potential. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. When you're coming from a place of lack, somebody could show you exactly what their capabilities are, but you will try it anyway. because you are only focused on the potential. So, hopefully, I've given y'all some concrete tools on how to move forward from disappointment when someone disappoints you in a big way that affects whole departments of your life, business, or job. Because believe me, they are just doing them, they are just being themselves. They're not literally waking up in the morning thinking, let me ruin this person's life. Let me, on purpose, mess all of this up. They're actually thinking that they're doing exactly what you asked them to do. Okay? A lot of times that is truly what's happening, and they're just simply missing the mark. And this is why you got to find that compassion. The same compassion that you would give to a kindergartner that you asked, hey, I need you to go feed the pet fish. I got it. Sure, I sure can. And then they dump half of the fish food into the tank, and it's like a snow globe, and you just know that fish is about to die, so you got to go on a rescue mission. They were very happy, motivated. Yes, you can count on me. They did what you asked them to do. They just overdid it. And that's not what you needed. Okay? And then the next time that you asked that kindergartner to go feed a fish, you had a system in place, a measuring system. And you taught them how to use that measuring system so they would never overfeed a fish again, because you realized that you needed to do that because you're dealing with a fifth grader. I mean, not a fifth grader, a kindergartner. Somebody, there's a fifth grader somewhere. Huh. Anyway. So, sometimes, we forget that we need to set parameters and train and all that stuff when we ask somebody to do something. You cannot assume that people have common sense or home training. I know this because I've dealt with lots of people, military, out of the military, day-to-day basis. You'd be surprised at what people don't know that you know. So you just gotta assume that when you're talking about your stuff and your life and the things that you've built, that you need to train people, you need to guide people. Okay? Don't be like, hey, can you do this? And they're like, yeah. And you'll be like, all right, do it. Are you kidding me? I don't care how much experience they have. Whatever it is you got going on. When you bring somebody in, your situation is unique. It's not general. Their training is general. You're still going to have to tell them how you want things done and what you actually expect. And we fall short. Sometimes we don't do that because we don't feel like we have to or should have to and all this and that craziness. That's another thing. That whole guessing game, I don't care. I know a lot of psychics. We don't even do that to each other. We don't make each other guess how we feel, what we need. We know how to communicate and speak. Okay? We ain't got time for that. This is not something we do for fun. I personally hate trivia, okay? So, do not expect people to guess. Especially if you're placing them in a position in your life where you need them. Give them all the information that they need to succeed, okay? Don't expect people to ask questions when you like in situations where you would stop and ask questions before taking action, some people were not trained to do that. There are some people that will literally get somebody killed because all they know in their head is that you told them to do this thing and they told you that they could do it. So when they're in the middle of that task and they realize they don't know something that is critical, they're too worried about being judged. So they're going to do it to their best ability, even though they're not doing it to the best quality or safety standards. They're going to still do it anyway. Because all they're worried about is, well, I told her I knew how to do it. So I'm going to do it, even though I might mess it up. Is they're intimidated or whatever the case may be. They're more likely to mess it up than to stop what they're doing and ask questions. Especially if they haven't been trained to do that. We are dealing with a new batch of people now, you guys, and it requires a lot of compassion. Okay? A lot of guidance and patience and a lot of one person especially carrying the conversation and promoting communication. Stop expecting all of this from people when society has programmed them to have the attention span of a damn goldfish, and society has programmed them to speak in the shortest form possible. Society has programmed them to feel as little as possible. Okay? So this is what we're dealing with. And this is why I'm trying to help you minimize the fallout of being disappointed by others. It doesn't have to be horrible, but it's up to you to make sure that it's not horrible. And it's also up to you to make the transformation. Okay? I'm only talking about you as the person being disappointed by someone else that you brought into your creation. I can't speak for the other people like the other way around. It's just too much for my brain right now. Okay? But I really enjoyed chatting with you. If I confused you, I love you. And that's just how it came out. So, hopefully that helped. And yeah. I'll talk to you again soon about whatever else decides to come through me. And yeah, have fun out there in those energies. It's lit.